let's see who's first. Get this set for live chat. I found my hat. Who's first? Chase. Well, I mean, Chase was the first to comment. I don't know if he was actually first. You guys ready for an announcement? Let's wait until we get a few people here. So I have a couple, hey, what's up, Simon? I have a couple videos I want to try and get done today. I have some sharpening to finish on a couple things, and I had a bunch of stuff come in. What's up, Bruce? So yeah, it's not too busy today, but you know, I've already been up, took my daughter to school, took the dog for a walk, I'm drinking my second cup of coffee. But here's the announcement. I talked to Wee yesterday, and these, after I approved the drawings where they thickened the handles, these are going into mass production soon. So keep your eyes out. I don't know where they're going to, I don't know where they're gonna be sold. I don't know price point. I just want to talk to him a couple more times about some stuff. I actually had to resharpen this one. I dropped this one. This is the shredded, not the shredded, the marble carbon fiber. I'm gonna talk to him. I want to get a set of the handles and hardware for the thicker, so I can put them on these. I told them M390, but I mean, it could be, I'm not gonna lie, Wee's S35VN would fit this purpose really well because it is a good steel, the way they heat treat it, and it's also easy to resharpen. So I am so happy with how these are coming out. So what's everybody got on their plate? I got something. Any of you guys send me something from Plainfield, Indiana? So I know Dwayne is, I talked to Dwayne. Dwayne lives in Indiana and he didn't send anything. And so I'm just trying to figure out where I would have gotten something coming from Plainfield, Indiana. So don't know yet. So I'm just waiting on that Mattia Barani. Oh, my back's fine. It only hurt. So it only hurt. There's my hat. So when you have a spinal tap, it only hurts for a little bit. Like it hurt for like maybe a day or so. And I mean, yeah, and the pain went down my legs. And yeah, I did have a worse headache and I had some nausea. The headache we were trying to get rid of actually got worse. But then the medicine they gave me, I came home, I went straight to sleep. So everything was good with that. But yeah, I mean, Saturday I went to the shop and I refinished that, I refinished this one. I think most of you guys were here. I refinished Josh's knife, and I'm debating if this needs more lock bar tension. I think I need to take it apart and re-tension the lock bar because I need to retighten that just a little bit. I think the lock bar tension is just a little bit weak. But I did this, and then I did some work on the butcher. It's actually called a lower lumbar puncture. Or lumbar puncture, I can't remember. Lower spinal puncture, lumbar puncture. So, surprisingly, I mean, it hurt, don't get me wrong, it hurt. But I've definitely had things that hurt worse. It's just the way, it's just that entire process was uncomfortable. The position you're in, and they're spreading you, and they're moving you around, and they got the ultrasound, they're trying to find the gap. Luckily, they were like, oh, wow, yours is great. My gap was just, the gap in my lumbar was fine. They just needed to reposition me a little bit. They didn't fucking hit, like, I've heard horror stories of them, like, having to go in, like, 4 or 5 times, and they keep hitting a bone, and I did have some sciatic pain running down my legs, but that was basically it. So I'm gonna keep trying to do these morning things. I've got stuff I've got to do, so we'll stay on here for a little bit. It's all for me to have some coffee and then we'll take off. But yeah, the fact that these are going into mass production soon makes me happy. I did try it. I'm sorry, I am gonna try it. I have some soft loops here at the house off one of the knives that I made for another customer, and we're gonna see how those fit on here. So you might be able to just order soft loops for these if you don't like. I don't like the Tech Lock. It's cool if this knife sat lower. If like it had a flap and the Tech Lock was on it and it sat lower, the Tech Lock would be great. I personally think that this should be carried horizontally, and a Tech Lock would be okay if you're like wearing a duty belt and you had it on there, but just in a pair of jeans where you're hitting it, you have a tendency to, either you have to put it down like this, so it's not hitting you in the side, or you flip it up, because if you put it down like this, what happens is you bend down and you catch it on stuff. If you flip it up, it doesn't do it as badly, but that little, but I wish it had like a lock. Oh, it does have a lock. Oh, I retract my previous statements. I've never had a Tech Lock, so I didn't realize you could lock it. Oh, I retract said previous statement. I'm an idiot. I didn't realize you could do that. Yeah, I get it now. But those aren't technically those aren't actual Tech Locks. Those are made in China. They get these for like cents on the dollar. They're not an actual Tech Lock. They're a Chinese EM knockoff, I guess. They are different than the Tech Locks I've seen. I did take out, there's a piece that goes in this. It is actually kind of cool if you've gotten, some people wear narrow belts and stuff. And so there's a spacer that you can adjust and get your belt to sit. My belt, I'm a big guy, my belt is that wide. I don't know if this would have fit. I don't think this would fit on a duty belt though. Like a gun belt, like a military style gun belt. And then you'd have to you could just take the Tech Lock completely off and just molly it to your gear. That would be right there. That would be about perfect. So once on your gear, it sits just below the deltoid across to the sternum, just right there. That way, if you fall on it, it's not gonna hit you in the chest, and it's not gonna hurt as bad. Like if you set, I always would, when I would set up my gear, I was like, if I fall on this, where's it? Oh, that's gonna hurt. And so that's how I looked at things. I don't want it here. You could do it vertical, but then like horizontal, it's gonna lay flatter. Not horizontal. At a cattywampus angle. Because I have news for you. I don't know if you've ever fallen on something. There you go, diagonal. It's not been a good one. I'm not 100% awake yet. Thank you for that and Tech Lock. Appreciate it. My brain's like a fucking old Honda Civic that's running on 3 cylinders. If I can hear it, you're like, with like very little compression. Oh. So it has been a good week as far as, I mean, financially, it's been a good week. There's been some stuff back and forth, but I look at it as like things are getting better. I've had a good bit of correspondence yesterday with customers. I got some emails and DMs earlier. I just wish people would read my bio where it says, you know, I'm pretty sure I put it in the bio, not the DM, and my email and contact info is in my bio. I don't check my DMs very often. Like, so to DM me is not a good way to get my attention and find things. It might be, I mean, my DMs might sit for a week or so. There's certain people, like I'll see it, I'll see like, oh, wow, somebody sent me a DM. I get a lot of DMs that I just don't even look at because I don't recognize who they are. And I just don't have that kind of time. Instagram's a fucking time-sucking thing. Like if you log into Instagram, guaranteed you're gonna spend 5 minutes. Guaranteed every time. Yeah, it didn't load. It did not load, and they were running a wood chipper, so I couldn't even film what I was doing. I have to sharpen mine sometime. I'll do a video on sharpening it. I just wanted to get that customers done. I can't do it in the house, so lesser of two evils. I put it up, but it never rendered. Not really. because it hasn't changed. There's new knives in the case that I could say that, like, I got 8 Ferrum Forges, but the ones that are in that list of things that I would never get rid of are going to be the same. There's really not. It's just because that angle is the same. You just have to. It's a matter. Okay, so where I don't have it here. It's already packed up. So on the 601, that angle just keeps going. And instead of thinning the tip, they just cut that. That's the same angle for the entire curvature. They've just taken off more material with it. And so, you know, the blade is significantly thinner. So as they're getting into more material, that angle stays the same, so that bevel just gets wider and it turns into a 0. It's more like a traditional Japanese tanto than anything I've seen. And it's just a matter of, so what people will do is they'll set that angle and then they want to steepen it up and just only get the very edge. And you're like, no, that's a 0. It goes all the way from the origin all the way down, like, almost like a Scandi at that tip. And I was like, and I see people do it and then they get to really rounding over the tip and then it feels blunted and it doesn't want to cut. And so it's, you know, and a lot of times people will start to get that angle and then they get lazy because it takes some time, and then you just see them do that secondary bevel. But it's sharp now. It's done. It's sharp. I just got to let the customer know the additional cost. And I had to take it apart because somebody took it apart enough that one of the bearings has shifted a little bit and it's pinching, so it's off center very, very slightly. And it's got some wobble to it, some weirdness. So I'm gonna take it apart and see if maybe we need to order a new set of bearings. My wife's getting ready to go to work. This might make the list of knives that I would never get rid of. But while I really, really like my Mako, I can't say that I would never get rid of it. Now, if Elliot were to turn this into a Mandalorian Mako, that would be a different story. It would probably, it's like anything that Elliot has modified or made a maker's choice or anything like that I have, it would never go anywhere. Like my one-off Archbishop, my maker's choice Master Blaster, well, that was a gift, so it wouldn't go anywhere. Don't stop. What's mine? So the spinner, yeah, the spinner would never go because it's a maker's choice. I just wouldn't get rid of it. And plus, I mean, I could sell that knife and probably make a really good profit on it, because the thing is, the guy that sold it to me had gotten it super low price because he won a, what did he win? He won a raffle and was able to get the knife for like super cheap, and then sold it to me for way less than it was worth, but way more than he paid. So that one I wouldn't feel bad if I did it. So, because it's not like it was a gift. Sharpsville Bill. But yeah, this, I did the ano and everything on this when this was still Pip's knife. It is really comfortable. I love these. So, what's everybody got going on? Do I have this set for live chat? I do have it set for live chat. Random question, what's the fastest you've ever gone in a car? I don't really know. I had a Supra that would run, 10s and 11s in a quarter mile, so whatever that is. And I have had the Volkswagen up to, yes, I do choils, Sean. You can get in touch with me. As a matter of fact, if you follow stuff, I was getting ready to say, I've had my Volkswagen well above 130. I think I had it at 145 or something like that. As a matter of fact, Mr. Curtis, I did this. So if you look, you can see that, like, it's in there, and it's, here, we'll turn it around. Turn it around. So you can see the finish, like, I even matched the blade finish. I Scotch braided it. So when I do it, I try to match the finish as best as I can all the way through that choil. It's hard to get. I forget. I had the BMW. I took my friend Alan to the airport one time. How fast did you say you would? 250? I think 255 is what I had the Beamer at. 255 kilometers an hour was what I had the Beamer at that time that I took him to the airport. Pretty sure. 255 or 265, I don't remember. It's been 20 plus years ago since I owned that car. I had that car when I was dating my wife. Yeah, and I did the choil on this as well. So this was one of the ones that was a Mike Gavick, so it didn't have a choil, and I put a choil in this and then refinished the blade. And then pip, the choil was a pip thing, and then the finish, I did the finish on it. So like if you look at the spinners, the greens are weird. They're a high voltage color, so they are really dependent on surface finish. So I can tell you that this color green and this color green are the same voltage. They just react differently depending on the surface finish. So this winds up being, I mean, they're in the same range. This is a different, I don't remember what voltage this was. How much did I charge to do this? I honestly can't remember. Yeah, they have a video, and I watched the video and I was like, why am I watching this? I learned all this stuff from them. I can't remember how much it was total because there was price of sharpening. I have to add in the price of that, and then the amount of time that went into the polish. There's going to be more to it. So I think I quoted him 145. It was like whatever it was with shipping. It was like 145, but that was the estimate. And then, you know, I spent like 6 hours just polishing. And so 6 hours of polishing, plus I cut in the choil. The choil is going to be more expensive. But since I didn't have to do like a bunch of two-tone ceramic, it didn't take 2-3 days. So I think the only additional on that is going to be the choil. Yeah. For that amount of recurve, did you charge extra? Yeah, all recurves get charged extra. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, if you're sending me as much as I like Bill and those guys, if you're sending me a Koenig, we may as well just figure there's going to be an additional price. That mini Goblin, I just talked to the customer yesterday. It needs an aggressive reprofile. It really, really needs it because it just will not cut. It is such a steep angle that even nothing I did, like it was tearing paper. If you remember, I did it in a live feed, sharpening that one. And I just couldn't get it to bite. I had the same problem with this one. And that's what I was telling him. I was like, they are really, how do you make a choil? What tools do you use? I use a 2x72 belt grinder with a relatively high grit belt at a very low speed. And I just take my time at it. And then I use it on a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch belt contact wheel. You got to have the right equipment. You're not going to be able to do something this consistent. You can't get that consistent with a Dremel. And I've had a bunch of people like, oh, I cut in a choil with a Dremel. Tell me what you think. And I look at it and it's just all these angles and weird, you know, facets and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, that's not the way to do it. So this one, I think I'm going to cut some jimping on the flipper tab with a Dremel. I'm going to try that. That will be, I'm going to practice on some other stuff. And I mean, even as consistent as I got that, if you we'll come in here. We'll come in here where I know signal's good. I still lose signal in the kitchen, even with the new. So let's turn this around. So what I was saying is, even as consistent as I got it with that equipment, you can see it slopes to that way a little bit. There's just, even with the right equipment, it's still really, really hard. And Pip was cool with it taking that slant, and that's just because maybe the water jet was a little different. Maybe the way that the belt was sitting. Maybe the wheel had a little bit of wobble to it. Maybe because those wheels do wear out, so it might have had a low spot. Usually, what you get is the bearings start to go, and it allows it to cant, and you get and even with the proper equipment, you'll still get some inconsistencies. So, yeah, Dremel is definitely not the way to do a finger choil. So yes, I do finger choils. I've done, as long as it's not something that's going to interfere with the actual mechanism of the knife. I won't recut, I won't do anything to lock bars. I'll do like stone pattern on spines and things like that if somebody wants that, and then refinish the blade to where it, I mean, as long as I'm not messing with anything that's gonna dimensionally change any of the important interfaces, I'll do some aesthetic things. But like regrinding a knife, changing the handles, doing fucking all that crazy shit that you used to see Tough Thumbs do and some of these other knife pimpers, they get themselves into trouble because they damage a knife. They can screw up the actual mechanism, the workings of the knife when they're not careful. And so I just don't do any of that stuff. Like, people want me to do blade regrinds, and I'm like, no, I will not. For two reasons. There's a chance I'm gonna damage your stuff. One, there's a good chance I could ruin the temper. I could screw up the actual edge grinds, things like that. I won't do that. And two, it kind of just is almost like augmenting and making things aesthetically different than they came. That's different than, it almost feels like if I was to regrind a blade, I'd be telling the knife maker he didn't know what the fuck he was doing. And I wouldn't want that. You know, I'm pretty sure that there's a reason that certain knives are the way they are. And it's based on the maker's decisions as to what the blade thickness should be, the edge geometry, all those things. Like, and you know, I can adjust a lot of things. Like I said, this is a really thick knife. It's ridiculous sharp now. I had problems with it because it is thick, and so my edge wound up being a little different, and I can account for that thickness a little bit to a point by just changing the edge geometry and just bringing that bevel back and working it back into the thicker part of the blade so that it has more of a pronounced cutting edge. But I won't regrind a knife. I had somebody tell me, it was like, oh, can you reblade a knife for me? I was like, oh, I will not. And there's been a couple people where the last guy was like, well, how much would it cost? I was like, you'd be looking at more than the thing is worth, like between $300 and $500. And he was like, Bill, no, bad will, or bad bill. I mean, bad. So he wanted me to reblade a knife, and I told him, I was like, dude, it'd be worth the thing. I mean, just easy, just a little estimate. I was like, $300 to $500, easy. And he goes, oh, I'd pay $500. I was like, here's the thing though. That's all I'd be comfortable charging. The amount of time it would take me to make a brand new blade and then duplicate the cutouts on the mill and all the stuff and make sure it fits. I was like, that $500 would cost me money. It would cost me money. And he was like, I don't understand. You stupid. I was like, the amount of time it would take me, I could make 3 times that. And people don't understand that. Like, when I tell people, no, there's reasons why. Well, that's bullshit. You said you want to do this business and you'll do damn near anything. I was like, to an extent, if it's something that's going to take an inordinate amount of time for the amount of money I'm making, it doesn't, there is no return on investment. It's actually a loss. Guy wanted Elliot to try and make a new pocket clip for his Rockstead. And Elliot was like, well, I could do it. He's like, but here's the thing. I'd have to take the knife apart and reverse engineer the way it's mounted. He's like, then I would have to take the time to hand cut out material. He's like, I would have to generate it in CAD to figure it out and things like that, to get the measurements just right so that he could kind of duplicate it and give himself a template. And he's like, and then, you know, all that stuff. And he goes, you'd be looking at a $2,000 pocket clip. And the guy was like, that's ridiculous. It's how hard is, and it's like, the guy was like, well, I understand why you won't do it. And I was like, because the pocket clip is his least favorite part of any knife. That's why they came up with a standard thing for Ferrum Forge pocket clips. They all look like this, unless you have a smaller knife, and then it's a smaller version of this with only 2 screws in it. And it's because he can get them all water jetted out. All he has to do is clean them up, bend them, polish them, do whatever flourish he wants on them, and they're done. Because he does hand bend them. He does all that bending by hand with a pair of pliers. And so, but the guy was like, well, that's ridiculous. And I was like, look, he's in the knife making business, not the pocket clip making business. Everybody that is really into knives can tell you, no one likes pocket clips. You find a pocket clip, like I like theirs, it just disappears in my hand. I forget it's there. I like theirs. But there's a lot of knives that I just hate the pocket clip. I wish we could go back to the pocket slip era and have a little pocket protector for your pocket and not look like a complete nerd and just have clipless knives. Because if you've taken a pocket clip off your knife, I challenge you guys to do this. Take the knife that is most comfortable in your hand with its pocket clip on. Like it would be one of my Ferrum Forges. Some of the Ferrum Forges have, you know, just because of the shape. This one is super, super comfortable, even with the pocket clip. Take that pocket clip off and you're gonna go, oh my God, that's the way this knife was supposed to feel. Pocket clips are always gonna be a point of contention with knife lovers. Some people like, some people like the sculpted pocket clips. I don't like them, they stick up for too high. This one has 2 high points. So it's just a matter of personal preference. I don't dislike the, before I just say that, they might be, Bill, they might be, but Will Moon is just such a fucking douchebag. And oh, I mean, the one that really cinched it for me, I knew he was a douchebag, but did you see his comment about a big fucking kitty, like on Instagram? Like basically he fucking went, well, you know, it's too bad he's dead. But then he goes into this big diatribe about why Matt Freeman was such a fucking asshat. And it was all because he called Will Moon out about something that he had to fix for a customer and shit like that. And I'm like, the guy was dead and he was bashing him in a post. And I was like, I knew he was a fucking douchebag. I knew he was a fucking flaming asshole, but I didn't know he was I don't even want to talk about it. So, I mean, if you like these knives, that's fine, but don't try to ever tell me that he's a good guy or anything like that. So, the crux. Yeah, I don't dislike it in hand. What I don't like about it is how thin it is. It reminds me of another knife that walks around in my pocket. This one doesn't as badly because it's got good tension. What was that? I heard about his religion and the military. Yeah, in my opinion, fuck Will Moon. And I put this up on record, and it's not, I guess since I'm doing it in video, it would be out loud. I guess it would be considered, it wouldn't be libel because it's not in print. It'd be slander. Let's see. What pocket clip? Where's the knife I have that I don't like the clip on? I think I've gotten rid of all the ones that I didn't like the clip on. I will say, okay, so there's my NTAC. And the pocket clip on this one does give it a little bit of a spot. If you, like, if I'm, depending on which way I'm holding it, like that's not bad. If I get it like this, like I'm gonna do a real heavy cut, I can feel it in my hand, right? You can see it. But I mean, the fact is this thing is great for most of the daily cutting tasks. And you can see it gets used. Look, I've worn the finish on it. I put the choil in on this and opened up the sharpening choil on this one. And when you compare it to its big brother, the Mordax, it just sits in your hand better. So, well, my big thing was I never said anything about it until he did that shit like talking about fucking Big Kitty. And I mean, I get it. If you don't like the guy, that's fine, but you don't talk about somebody like that. Like, pull that shit. I guarantee there were a lot of people that loved my dad, but there were some people that didn't. But had somebody said something like that at the funeral, oh, it'd have been fucking on. My family would have killed somebody, and then the rest of the sheriff's department would have taken whatever was left. So, yeah, pocket clips are always like this. This is basically the same knife. That pocket clip stands up almost the same because it's bigger. It sits in a different area, which gives it a lot more. This is an extremely comfortable knife. But, like I said, this is another one of Elliot's knives that are super, super thick. And so my edge geometry, if you look at my edge bevels, they're a good bit wider than a lot of my other knives. How was that? If you could flatten out the ends, most clips would sit high. Yeah, the only problem with that is a lot of times that changes the way it sits in your pocket. I have a couple knives that I'm going to do that on. My Gent pocket clip is going to be modified because it's really, really narrow, and it catches on the part that stands out catches on the little sewing, the stitch work on the bottom of a t-shirt right there. And it catches and it pulls it out, and then the next thing you know, your shirt's falling apart. So I don't like that. And the other thing about pocket clips, I don't know if any of you guys have done this, reach down and go to grab something, go to grab your knife, and you miss the pocket as you're coming up, and you jam the, I did it the other day. You can see it where I jammed the pocket clip clear up under my thumbnail, or under my fingernail. And I was like, oh, fuck, that hurts. So pocket clips, it's all Sal's fault. Spyderco's fault. They did all this. No one had pocket clips until the Spyderco Clip It. Not really. I mean, there was a couple people that had played around with it, but then they made that integral plastic clip on the Clip It. And then I think Cold Steel followed suit, and then it just became like every knife has got a pocket clip now. I never had a knife with a pocket clip on it until, fuck, it would have been, I'd been in the military for a while. So, guys, I'm going to get off of here. I have a couple of emails I got to send. I want to respond back to Doris at We and tell her that, yes, I did get the email, and do a couple things. And then I might shoot a video today. I have two videos I want to shoot. One was the one I was telling you guys about with the chipping on on S30V. I got some pictures of it, and it's chipping. It's not like tear out or anything like that. It's chipping. I finally got a good clear picture of it. And like I said, I have not heavy used that knife. I know exactly what I use it for. It's just opening packages and stuff. So I'm going to try and shoot that video today. I might combine them together into one video because I don't have much about that S30V. So I want to do that Cold Steel 8015 video. So stand by for that, guys. I might do that because I have a couple things here that I really need to work on, but I've got to get some customer input, and I'm just waiting. So you guys take it easy. I love you all.